We are live. We are live. We are live. So, cool. Let me give a few moments for people to jump in the room. Live. I just shut that one off. So let me get the chat uploaded to my phone. Let me get the chat uploaded. There we go. Cool. All right, we got 2 in here. How's everyone doing tonight? Everyone's doing well. You can type in the chat, say hi. Let me know where you're coming from. What dimension? What star system? There's a lot to unpack tonight. Today was just filled with insights and downloads. Hi, Sam. Hi, Zena. I know you are. I know you're going through it. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what's been coming through. Hello, everyone. First off, I want to preface this early on in the video because, you know, sometimes these live streams can go an hour. And when I fit this in at the end, a lot of people don't see it. But it's prevalent for right now for my own case. So I'm currently locked out of my PayPal. And as a result, I can't sell anything online. I can't book any sessions, can't accept any donations. So right now I've got some business expenses that are coming through and all of my money is tied up in PayPal and they won't release it to me. So I wanted to extend out to my people. If there's anyone that could support, even if it's just a few dollars, it'd be greatly appreciated. My Cash App and my Venmo is in the description box. And it's my hands are kind of tied while I go through this restructuring. But my universe today said, ask your tribe that if I've supported you in any way, shape, or form, and you feel like doing so for newer donations, links are in the description box for my Cash App and for Venmo while I sort out all this stuff with PayPal that's currently going on. So I will leave that there. Hello, Rena. Hello, Sandiv. Hello, Queen Star Sophia. Okay, so let's get started. So today, let me go ahead and pull out my notes here. So the video here is called Return to Innocence. And it's called that for a reason, but there's so much more beyond this that's talking about. And we're going to discuss a little bit about the energetics and how we're working on reparenting the inner child and stripping down the layers of the inner child wounding, the traumas of the inner child, and how we can start to give birth to the divine child and really return back into our innocence and into our play and our healthy curiosity, and how that's going to assist in everything that's playing out main stage right now. So we're also going to go into some physical body stuff as well, right? So I just want everyone to take a moment to just settle into the breath. And if you want to enter this sacred space, you may do so now. Enter into the sacred space, just love, freedom, truth, serenity, and equality. As we just continually work to build out the organic ascension pathway, as we all navigate the rainbow bridge back to heaven on earth here and now. So where do I start with this? Because there's so much to go into. Where do I start? So first off, I want to talk about some of the songs that came through today. First one was, today has been so chatty, right, in the field. So chatty with my guides. They've just been relaying so much information to me today. And it's been really a day of unpacking. But also we are in a big alignment that opened up last night, actually. So there was a few gateways that opened up today that were plasma related. I want to talk about that first. That were plasma related, and it was really fascinating what was going on, because when the plasma hit, we had a really strong plasma wave hit, and at that time when it hit, Gaia was calling me outside, and I didn't know why. So I was actually on a walk, or no, I was outside just being in nature, and there was this gust of wind of these plastic bags that started to fly through our RV site. And as a result, I, of course, am not going to leave trash on the ground. So when I see that, I know it's my call to go pick it up. Well, in came another bag and swept me into this course and this trajectory that brought about a lot of downloads that I want to that I'm going to speak on later. But I was on this walk with Gaia when these plasma energies hit, and I noticed that the plasma, as it was coming down, was seeding into the sacral chakra, which is a womb space or womb portal, that was seeding these new creations, new insight. And it was really fascinating. And I want to talk about that a little bit, okay? Because the discussion of immaculate conception, right? If anyone is aware of what immaculate conception is, it's basically how, in the story of creation, it's how Jesus was born. Yeshua, Yahweh, however we want to view it, was through immaculate conception. Well, we're going to begin to learn more about the energetic viewpoint of immaculate conception and how men actually can give birth to creations through seeding, through collecting star codes, collecting light codes, collecting energetics, how we give birth to creations. And so there's a lot of people that are going more into the theory that men and women are both asexual and that whole style of thing, which I'm not going to get into, because when I view things at this level in this nature, it's helping me to understand energetics and how we are seeding. But it was really interesting because I noticed that when the plasma came, it was traveling through the central column, and for me, it was seeding in my sacral as a result of something that is being birthed from within, whether it's creation, viewpoint, a new templating structure. These codes collect, because what happens is when we collect the codes, we build up the energetics in our womb space, which creates this expansion in our belly. So if anyone's been blowing up recently, okay, or they've noticed that their stomach is getting bigger, or even that their sides are starting to protrude a little bit, I want to let you know about two chakras that I actually just recently learned about from Sandra Walter, actually, that when the light codes are traveling down through our vagus nerve, there's these two light code chakras that are starting to build right here on each side, almost in the kidney area, just parallel to the navel, that collects light codes and creates this expansion. And there's these two new chakras that are being born right here. But I saw this plasma energy coming down and seeding into the sacral, and I'm not sure exactly what the codes were because I ended up falling asleep. Normally when the energies hit, I will tune in and try to figure out what the code is or what exactly it's doing. And even now I'm hearing New Earth realities. So for us, it's really about giving birth to the organic ascension pathways and a lot of that choice point. Okay, so we're in a very fertile season when it comes to seeding, to root race genetics, to our DNA, and to creation itself. I just did a blog post on my website, if my website is not shut down by now because they're waiting for money, but and it was called mindful seeding, and about the fertility of our soil. And I want to go into that a little bit regarding what happens when we're in a seeding process and our energetic body and our energetic systems is really ripe and fertile. Okay, so when we are coming into form, so let's say that we're in the middle of birthing a new reality. We're birthing a new level of insight. We're birthing a new creation, whatever it might be for us. What happens is with the plasma energies, we can almost become formless, right? So if we look at materia prima or prima materia, however we want to call it, pure ether energies, right? It is the beginning of the building of the creation of whatever it might be for us that we are seeding and giving birth to. When we are very in that fertile state, right? The fertile state of creation in our energy body coming into form, the discussion is being very mindful of what we are introducing into the garden of our soul or our soil, really being mindful of the seeds that are being dropped in that soil as we are beginning to uproot a lot of old programs, old belief systems, old structures, because it's important for us to disconnect from those inorganic trajectories when we're beginning to give birth to an organic reality. So myself now have gotten the download to stay off technology and to be extremely mindful of what I'm both ingesting, food wise, chemical wise, substance wise, but also what I'm paying attention to on social media. What programming am I allowing in my reality? What kind of music am I listening to? Because when we go through this process of uprooting, so imagine that we just went through and we just harvested, right? We uprooted a lot of creations or programs or belief systems that we just got out of our garden. We just plowed, right? And we're beginning to plant some new seeds for summer and for fall, or whenever the trajectory lies for us to be able to embody those creations. The thing is that we just got through uprooting all this stuff, and we need to be mindful of what we're introducing into our lives. Because when we're disconnecting from an old narrative, okay, so when we're disconnecting from an old narrative and an old pathway, and we're beginning to walk onto a new path, there is a level of uncomfortability that occurs, right? And as a result, we might want to sway back into the old narrative because there's comfort and there's safety there. So it's just being mindful of where we're beginning to kind of slide back into an old routine or to an old pathway, old connection points, because it's normal, right? In that in-between and in that void to be walking alone. Like I even heard the song, was it Boulevard of Broken Dreams, I believe, by Green Day today, which the beginning lines is I walk a lonely road, right? And the thing is that as we're navigating between collectives, okay, so we're navigating between collectives, we're navigating between realities, a lot of that passageway and initiation point is walking alone with the divine. And so through that, right, we start having to look at what are our creature comforts that are propagating an old narrative or an old pathway for us, and not reintroducing them, because when we reintroduce those to the soil, they could begin to seed into the next pathway that we're opening up for ourselves. And so I have a full blog post that I discussed about checking in on this stuff. So if you want to check that out, go over to my website. The link is in the description box, and it's the top blog post. I also have a link in my community page about that. But it was really interesting when this passageway opened up, discovering more about the seeding, but also we are going to be unlocking more about immaculate conception in both men and women with creations. And I need to dive into it a little bit deeper about the male body having a womb chakra and having a womb, and how we can give birth to, and how we honor the birthing body and honor that form of expression. Because when I started to go through a lot of my beginning stages of seeding and creation, it felt very strange energetically going through the process. Because while my feminine energy is very responsible in that form of creation, when I was in that energy, my body went a little haywire, right? Because biochemically, I feel like the male body is not meant to have a birthing body. And so as a result, my mechanisms went a little haywire, and my systems were a little funky for a while. And now I'm learning what it is and how to navigate it. Thank you to the beautiful women that have told me their story and have helped me with this. The divine feminine, and not just, so the divine feminine energy, but also the feminine representation in form. And a lot of the mothers have been helping me with this. So I want to thank all of the beautiful mothers and all my beautiful tribe and inner circle that have been helping me with that. We're going to discover more of it, and hopefully let this be a seeding point for this discussion to unravel more and to unlock more understanding of the male form with the birthing process. Because, I normally don't go into male, female, and the whole separation thing, but it was a really interesting process, and to ask these questions and to learn more about how to honor my own womb space and my own creative space, because it's an important part of creation, right? It helped me to understand more of the energetics of more of the Sophia energy, and to embody more of that being in that receptive role, right? And it's really important right now, because a lot of the topic that I was going to go into was regarding the energy of the masculine. Okay, so we're not looking at male form, but we're looking at masculine energy within, and how it's playing a role right now, and what my guidance wanted me to come forward and to discuss regarding the masculine energy and kind of where we're at in the process and in embodying it and clearing out the distortions of it. So beyond that, we look at the Trinity, right? Mother, Father, Child, divine child. Right now, this big return to innocence right now is asking for us to step more into the inner child play and healthy curiosity with our reality as we're going through the dismantling of the old systems and as we are beginning to adjust to the viewpoints that are coming forward in the revelation that is showing up on the grand stage, right? So it's interesting because even for myself, the topics that are being discussed right now, and they're actually showing up in my physical reality, right? So there's a difference between me engaging with a virtual reality, right? Like, so me going on to a news platform and researching this stuff, when it shows up in my physical reality, I know it's important and I know I need to pay attention. So there's been a discussion in my physical reality, my own reality, discussing things that are happening in the collective and revelation. And when the truth comes out more and more in various levels that we've all been calling for it as a collective. Okay, so let's remember this, right? That the council of higher selves have said that we are ready for everything that is coming forward for us now, especially in regards to genetic modification, DNA modification, which has been the focus for me, and the resonance of everything that's occurring. It's different between it intellectually making sense, because there's a lot of this I knew and I was like, okay, yes. But then there's a difference of the resonance within the body, right? There's this difference when you feel the truth deep within and you feel the resonance and the rumble of what is currently occurring, and then giving yourself the opportunity to shift out and to shift yourself into a different direction, into a different pathway, different level of embodiment, different focus of self-care and self-love, so we can begin to dismantle more of that pathway that's opening up for us to see clearly the truth of what we need to see, right? So let's thank the age of Aquarius for this. Let's thank the grand awakening of Uranus coming forward and just shaking everything awake, and Pluto and Saturn and Jupiter and all the planets and stars and everything we've been anchoring here and now to catalyze this awakening and really allowing the veils to drop at a further level so we can fully understand what we've been navigating and how we can navigate these realities in a new way. So the return to innocence is going to assist us so much in reclaiming the divine child, okay? And I want to put some power emphasis on this. Reclaiming our sovereign right to be the divine child here and now, okay? Because the thing is that as we're, especially in the energetics, so we've got the revealing, right? We've got these the physical body symptoms that are occurring. We're also going through a process of reparenting, okay, the inner child and moving through a lot of inner child trauma. And what my guide sent to me was the song Sweet Child of Mine earlier. And it came through because basically it was a remembrance point of first off, the good old days, right? So there's been this focus of the good old days, the good old days, the good old days. And I was trying to understand what it was, because for me, I don't like to go into past narratives and storylines to pull forward anything, because I don't like recreating storylines in my life. I don't like loops. I'm very, my mind and the way that I see is in pattern. And so if I see a pattern and I see a loop, I tend to break the loop and get the heck out of it to stop the loop from occurring, because I really don't like looping cycles. And if you don't know what a looping cycle is, it's just kind of it's either, so we have thought form loops that occur, and we're going to discuss this with the spinal column, because this does tie into looping that's occurring and how we can break free of that. But also too, we can notice that sometimes we're just getting like same face, same day, Groundhog's Day, over and over and over. Well, that's a good sign that there's a loop. And when there's a loop occurring, we're either still creating that loop, or at some level, we're not understanding the wisdom from the pathway, and we keep looping in that narrative until we get it right. Okay. So that's why I don't retrieve a lot of older aspects. But right now, when we are focusing, so when the focus is on the trauma of the inner child and we're beginning to call forward more of the divine child, so I can think of the inner child, right? Like the wounded child. showing up with a layer of sediment around it. And the energetics right now are cracking down those walls and barriers so the pure innocence can come forward, right? And even the word innocence, let's think about this. With innocence, we're not speaking of arrogance, and we're not speaking of immaturity, okay? So this isn't the blind fool walking out into the forest just expecting puppy farts, rainbows, and sunshine. What it is cumulative wisdom from our experience embodied in the essence of the divine child, so we can walk with faith in the knowing that that innocence can be here, because that is the purity, right? So the purity of the innocence is what's going to assist in facilitating and activating, propagating those organic pathways for ourselves and assist in opening up that door, but it's also holding that loving space for the collective to rise up through the revelation. So the thing is that when we have an energetic current that hits, right, and the collective is going through a collective dark night, or it's going through a big revelation, if we stay stuck, okay, in the I call it the undercurrent, the undertow of a collective trajectory, we can kind of get caught down there. And so while we are dismantling, okay, the inorganic realities, and we're dismantling the programming and the wounding, and we're moving through that, the message coming forward is, how can we still activate the play frequency in our own life and the joy and the dance with the new pathways opening up, so we don't swing into that old narrative or get stuck in that the undertow of the collective trajectories, right? So I find even myself knowing all these things can really get caught up in the undertow when I'm really going through it, especially if I'm going through a lot of physical body ascension symptoms. So then for us, it's, what can I do in my environment to create a healthy play and curiosity to be invited forward and through when I'm down in bed, full quantum, spine melt, pancake, I call it being pancaked, a sack of potatoes, being a lump on a log. It's a really important part of the divine process of destabilizing the old structures from our field and rebuilding new. It's a part of the rebuilding our light body and rebuilding into the divine human, is going down in bed for a while. But for me, right, especially if, let's say, technology's off, right? Like, so I'm being called to stay off social media, to not contact anyone, and to just be in my own energy. Because once again, this is that fertile period. When we're fertile, okay, in that soiling period, if we are introducing too many other people's energies into our field, we can start planting seeds that we don't want on our pathway. So sometimes we have to kind of separate into our own field and allow the restructuring to occur. Once the restructuring and the integration is complete, then we step forward anew. Okay, so it's one of those that is really important part of the process, going down and allowing the restructuring to occur. So then how can we promote more play, right? And if you're dissolving a lot of the inorganic structures and you're called to step into the organic pathway, it might be that technology has to go offline, being more mindful of things like that. So for us, it's in the in-between time, how can we begin to set up our reality to promote play when we're down, right? And how can we get the healthy innocence moving forward through us as we are navigating the activation of the divine child? Because the more that we bring the divine child up and forward in through us, right, and we're bringing it forward, the more that we're going to allow the inner child to let go of the wounding, to let go of the trauma, to let go of the fear and all of the old world systems that didn't allow that magic to come forward and through. And it's funny, I actually just heard magical elf, right? So that didn't allow our magical elf or our fairy or a unicorn to come forward and through, right? And that's really like, when I think of the essence of the divine child, that's what I think of, is like the healthy play, magic, the curiosity, and inviting that into our day. It's going to assist in opening up those organic pathways. And we're going to find an easier form of creation for ourselves as well, because Gaia and the universe came through with a message just a few months ago, it was maybe 2 or 3 months ago, that the staple now, the framework for new earth trajectories is we play all day. Okay, is that we play all day. And granted, we're still going to have an emotional experience, right? So we're not going into the Pollyanna theory, right, of like being so Pollyanna that everything's optimistic and we're just bypassing anything negative going on in our own reality or within, right? But what it's doing is it's allowing more of this innocence to come forward and through, because it's important for creation, and it's important for being your individuation of source, right? So it's not meeting up to societal norms, right? We're breaking through the old templates. We're breaking through the cultural designs. We're breaking through the societal belief system that all the I can'ts now are being washed away, and we're stepping into the I can through the I am of the divine child, right? So then it's the basis of creation for a soul aligned reality for ourselves is how can we play all day and just show up as ourselves authentically in our light, right? Authentically as us, and how can we walk forward and be that every single day and know that we're going to be supported, whether it's online, offline, whether you're out, on 100 acres farming, or you are on a main stage somewhere, playing a concert, right? It's going to be various for every people. So it really is about how can you play in your individual creation, but play more in your reality, because it's going to be very important for what we're embodying for the organic new earth. And a lot of the sequence of bringing through the inner child to create that trinitized being, right? So mother, father, divine child. And once again, divine mother, divine father, divine child. So, with this, we're constantly, I notice myself, are wobbling in between working through the mother distortions, the father distortions, the feminine distortions, the masculine distortions, the child distortions, and we kind of wobble in between until we get the Trinity completely focused and embodied in the higher self trajectory. So I never see, for myself at least, that I worked through all of my divine father stuff, and then I'm in my divine mother, and then I'm in the child. We kind of wobble in between all of those, because one level is, first off, we're working with many different ages just in this lifetime and other lifetimes that we're clearing. We're working with galactic Akash. We're also clearing everything from the grids, and then we're going through a collective ascension experience as well. So we're constantly kind of dialing in between all three of these as we're working with the trinitized being state, which is just one aspect of awakening and ascension, because we have so much more than that. But it's a really important one when we're speaking of coming into union with self, union with the soul. And there has been a great focus on unions coming forward too. And a lot of people discussing that. So I'm not going to just discuss too much of the unions, but I wanted to talk a little bit about that, about the importance of this innocence coming forward and through. And once again, the innocence isn't that we're blind, right? We're still carrying it's like we're taking the sage, we're taking the wisdom of our experience, the living libraries within our DNA, and we're merging that with the inner child and allowing that essence to come through as the divine child, right? So it's what we would call a crystal child, or a Christed child that's coming forward and through. And in that purity and in that divinity, that deep faith and knowing of who we are is what's going to assist us in propelling forward on our trajectories. And I'm actually going to go deeper into faith here, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the masculine energy that's been coming forward. Let's see. So the important thing, though, to go back into this was when we're with the divine child, is as we're working through our trauma or our wounding of our child, to make sure that we're also remembering the good old days, right? So free of the storyline, free of the narrative, but highlighting those golden moments of our childhood, because that's what's coming forward as a framework or a foundation for the divine child to come forward and through. So if you find yourself that you're beginning to go back into things that you loved as a kid, like even tonight when I started to set up this live, I put my hat on backwards and I was like, why did I do that? And it reminded me of Alvin and the Chipmunks, right? Like, it was one of those things I didn't mean to do. I never wear my hat backwards, but it reminded me of Alvin and the Chipmunks. And I was like, okay, cool. What I'm doing is I'm giving myself a moment in time to embody an aspect of myself free of the storyline, because it really needs to come forward and through with the representation of my creation and the healthy play as I'm playing with crystalline creations. And I'll discuss crystalline creations later too, because that's been coming forward and through a lot. So let me write that down, because if you know me, my quantum mind will go all over the place. And I also tend to read the field and start reading off of other people's energies, and then it just turns into a channeling guidance session. But I'll do one of those in another day. So yeah, if you're going through this deep, dark undercurrent, and I don't want to say dark, right? But like deep, heavy undercurrent of resolving all the trauma patterns of the child. Remember the good old days, bring those forward and through, and start to play more with that, and it'll help in the dissolution process. So what had come through to is I was looking at the masculine energy earlier, because there's been this really new level of embodiment for the masculine energies, at least within my own life, right? That's clearing out the distortion, but the feminine is like the feminine within is supporting the masculine enough that I'm tending to also run into more what I would call father figures in my reality that are teaching me, right, a new level of strength and resilience within the masculine energetics, right? So if you are encountering in your reality a lot of father or grandfather roles that are just showing up in your reality, I invite you to look within yourself and go, what is this male representation showing me? Whether it's a distortion to let go of, because I've seen both. I've seen that there's a distortion that's shown up that I need to let go of, but there's also been this compassion and this strength that's been exuded in the father energy, right? That's been coming forward that I've been witnessing, that's assisting in kind of, I don't want to say strengthening the masculine, but allowing the healthy masculine to come forward and through in my own life. And that thus is supporting the divine feminine to be in her beautiful essence that she wants to be in, but it's also supporting the inner child to come forward and through, to heal, to cleanse, so the divine child can break through. So this really strong father presence has been showing up and has been kind of like, it's a little bit more brute force masculine, but there's this beauty in standing as this powerful, powerful energy that is unstoppable and can move mountains for the sake of creation, for the sake of the good of humanity, and for the sake of the mission that we're embodying here as we're walking the Christos path. And that's been really important, so the templates coming through, to go into the Christos mission has been that I found that when I step into my masculine role and I get this next level of masculine level up, right? The focus for me has always been very much so on the Christos mission, right? And how are we sharing the purified energetics of Christ consciousness through the collective, but it's also creating this deepening of faith for myself, right? So it's interesting because I noticed that my feminine is actually way more Gaian related. Like, so my feminine side is more Gaian, more elemental, more fairy, a lot more dragon, but my masculine is very much so Christos related and Christ related, right? And I have to say this, that we're seeing this happen. There's a lot of people that are, when we speak of revelation, are actually going into the timelines. Do I even need to go into this right now? No, I don't need to. Okay, I'm not going to go into it. Just for the sake of, I want to keep this a sacred container, and there's certain things I just don't want to bring into this sacred container because it's something I'm witnessing, but it doesn't need to be broadcasted through the collective. So we'll just clear that. And this is a big part of mindfulness and discernment when we're bringing information forward and through, is to make sure it's in the highest alignment. Is that the activation of this next level of the Christos templates that have come forward and through is activating a new level of pathway for the masculine to show up in this deepened faith of the spiritual foundation that it's been building for itself, right? So once again, when we're speaking of this, we're not speaking of masculine form. You might be, like for me, I'm in a male form, and so it is creating that for myself. But we're speaking of the masculine energetics. The Christos templates that I've anchored, I got the last part of the template, I believe 48 hours ago, because we were in the process of building and restructuring the template. So there was a few days where the rest of the template didn't arrive and I felt like crap. And finally, I contacted a brother who's actually doing some work overseas right now. And he was like, oh, you're missing part of the template, and brought forward the codes. And finally I came back, so something had delayed that FedEx package from showing up, from Corey being able to get that last part of the template. And now I'm back online. So there's this next level though, right? Of understanding through the revelation in the masculine energetics, right? That through the revelation, there's an importance to why we are doing what we're doing. And many of us are going to begin to see, or at least feel, the importance of this pathway and why we're here at this time frame, why we either volunteered or signed up to show up at this time to be here now, right? And it might be that you you get blown wide open and you know everything you're supposed to be doing. Or you're following a feeling that what we're doing is actually really important, right? Not to negate or to say that anything we've done up until this point hasn't been important or felt important, but there's a next level of revelation that I'm feeling beyond, right? So it's beyond human conception, but it's a deep feeling, a resonance within the soul and the light body to know that what we're doing here is important, right? And the importance is on the ripple effect it plays, or the butterfly effect that it has in society, and what is happening globally for the expansion of planet Earth, right? So it's beyond just that, the ego importance of like showing up on camera and getting $1 million, or you have the house, the car. The importance of this is not that you're Tony Robbins, but it's the deep impact that it is creating for us at a quantum level and can be felt through this passageway and through the revelation. And so if you find that you're now taking your power back to a level and degree of sovereignty in the walk of you as the angelic, as the starseed, as the indigo, as the blue ray, as the universe, as the higher self, as the soul, whatever we want to call it, right? As the fairy, as the witch, whatever you want to call it, right? The Holy One, the guardian. There's a really deep level of importance and honor in the walk of divine sovereignty, and to make sure that we are continually saying no more to a lot of these things that are occurring. And it's interesting why this is coming forward now in the masculine energy, because when I tuned into the masculine energy that's coming forward in the collective, what I met was very interesting, and it was a black wolf. Okay, so if we think of so I'm going to go here into shamanic practices, but I don't know what the symbology of the wolf is. I'm going to go with my resonance of what the wolf is. We can see the wolf, the energy of the wolf, split into two parts. We can see the white wolf, which is caring, loving, protective, nurturing, very pack mentality, very family oriented. But we also can see the dark wolf, I would say, without having to go into good versus evil, right? We're looking at the aspect of what the representation of the symbolism is. And this dark wolf, or the black wolf that I saw as it showed up, is a little bit more predatory. It's a lot more controlling, prideful, quick to bite, very angry. It was the one that showed up heavily in what we're clearing in the masculine energetics. And I said, what do we need to let go of? And the big thing it said is we need to let go of the energy of combat, pride, and it said distortion as well. So the focus was being combat and pride. Okay. So pride, one being that when we activate this level of our pathway and we start to anchor in more of God consciousness, creator consciousness, and we know our power, it's to not let the pendulum swing so far that we start to become an ego monkey and start to go run around telling everyone to do, or starting to allow the importance of the pathway to go to our head, right? So we're looking out more the heart-centered. So we can even think of, in this representation, the dark wolf, the shadow wolf, being the mind, the ego, the pain body, and the heart being the white wolf. And so what it's doing is it's saying, don't go into combat and pride, because when we activate this level of knowing within us, we can go into pride where we start to run, its ego run rampant. And that always, especially in the pathways that we're navigating right now, it's always going to lead to a universal 2x4, right? So if we start walking around with that, right? So there's healthy confidence, okay? There's healthy confidence, deep knowing, deep trust and faith in who you are. That's okay. When we speak of it becoming to a point where we're starting to not honor people's energy boundaries, we start to impose on other people, or we start to walk around thinking that we are holier than thou, that will come up with the universal 2x4. And that humbling process is necessary for mastery. I've gone through it many different times on this channel. And I'm pretty sure people can, if you go back and look at the archive of videos, I'm pretty sure it's pretty easy to pinpoint when Corey got knocked into humility, right? And it's normal, right? It's a process of dissolve, and it's a process of finding our humility in the walking of purity, right? Because it really is, with the focus being on immaculate conception, right? Even with ourselves, showing up in that purified essence, it's really keeping track of the pride and when that's coming forward and through, especially with the lion heart energy. Okay. So this masculine energy because when I think of pride, I think of Lyra, and I think of the tribe, right? The pride, the pack of the lion. And that's what really this masculine energy is, but it's pack related, it's caring, it's almost mother-like in the way that it's showing up in the energetics. It's almost mothering. So we could see it as a balance point of a good, healthy balance between feminine and masculine, but it's making sure too that we don't go so far that we start to attack and impose on other people. The other one was the combative masculine, right? And this is because of the revelation, okay? So let's be mindful of this, okay? For all of us, when we discover what's going on behind the scenes and what's really occurring, as many of us know, it's not time for us to get the lynch mob and to go out and to start attacking the higher ups or whatever. That's not what this is about. And you can feel the buildup in energy. You know, some people are going to do that, and if they consciously choose to do that, great. But what it's going to do is we want to make sure that when we're coming forward with the purified masculine, right, we are a protector, we are a guardian, but we're not going to go out and deliberately attack, because we are aware of conscious creation, right? We are aware that at some level, the collective, some level, all levels, the collective called this experience forward so we could finally see and know at a deep level what's been occurring and how we can begin to shift the energetics through conscious creation by not allowing that to occur anymore, right? And by not allowing that to occur, what we do is we start to take the standpoint of focusing on more revelation, or whatever it is for you, peace, unity, love, right? Surrender, truth, clarity, whatever you want to focus on with those timelines. But the pathways that are opening up for ourselves is conscious creation, where we're not going to allow that anymore. And the energetics that are coming forward and through right now really, truly are not going to allow that. There was a whole layer of sovereign DNA that was coming online. But as a result of sovereign DNA, right, where those functions and the manipulations can't occur, it's also that we have to become aware of where it occurs, and we don't allow it by giving into it, right? So we don't give into the narrative. We witness the narrative. We see it pops up. It doesn't mean that we have to agree with it, right? So once again, with belief systems, we don't have to agree with it, but we could say no more and take a stand and start to take actions towards a more sovereign pathway for ourselves. This could include, for many people I'm seeing, they're now starting to be mindful of what they're eating. They're buying land and they're going to start farming their own food, right? They're saying no to medications. They're saying no to the propaganda. They're saying no to the 3D systems. That's what it is. It's essentially saying no more to 3D and beginning to walk a new pathway into 5D and organic pathways for ourselves. But as a result, okay, making that conscious choice is, it might be a little bit more difficult or a longer route to get what we need, because we can't allow those systems to keep supporting us. So for some people, it might be that they can't go to the grocery store anymore, and now they want to go out and buy land, and they're going to start to do more organic farming, or they're going to have to travel a little bit further, right? Or they have to move areas. Like for myself, I'm having to do that. Like, I recognize how important this is for me because of what's going on with my own physical health. Coming out of the behavioral health system for a really long time, my focus now has been on getting passionate about what I'm ingesting in my body and learning more about quantum biology, so I can know, first off, my own biofeedback mechanisms, but also know where programming exists within food for myself, so I can say no to that from now on. And this is a part of the Gaian support, the Gaian connection, and more of the Rainbow Bridge DNA coming online is understanding that more in my walk. So as a result, you know, I might have to travel further to get food, or I might have to move to a new area where I have more access to groceries. But that's a part of my universal realignment that's occurring in my soul-aligned vision and my crystalline mission, because for me, my DNA is really important, and I want to keep honoring that sovereign DNA. So when I state sovereign DNA, right, a part of that is our DNA is sovereign, but as a result, we have to say no to those portions of manipulation, and we also have to not allow ourselves to be exposed to that. And I know we can get into so much about this. I don't want to get into it right now because I can already kind of feel it and hear it coming up. But a part of it is that's our conscious choice to say no to those things, and to step away from that. So as we're seeing this, right, this back to the dark wolf thing is to not dive into the combat, right? Because the lynch mob is going to create another pathway where that's going to arrive again, right? Gaia and the universe has us, guys. Even if it may not seem like it, Gaia and the universe has our back. Let the balance point, okay, come however it's supposed to come, right? And best believe when it comes to, how do these words want to come through? Karma and justice, okay? There are people that are signed up to be deliverers of those people, or to be the delivery of that, whether that's you, or it's Frank and Ralph down the street, or it's Eddie that works at the post office. I don't know. I'm being silly here, right? Is that it's up to those people to walk their pathway with how that is. But there is going to be a balance point, and it's not up to us to serve that balance point unless that's a part of your trajectory, which is to stand up and to speak your truth about these things, to get this information out there. You know, there's so much that happens with this, that, and I want to make sure I'm still live. Cool. Making sure I'm still live as we're talking about this. There's so much occurring with this that it's up to us to know what our role is when the truth comes out. But as far as healthy masculine dynamics, ending the combat, right? And as a result, we're seeing a new role in guardianship, right? So I talked about guardianship in my last live stream, and I'm seeing that there's a new level of role that's being embodied for the male bodies, but also in the masculine energetics regarding guardianship, okay? Guardianship before always had this line in the sand. We can almost see it as the Gandalf staff, right? No more putting down the staff, where some people would see the sword of truth, putting the sword of truth in front of them, the armoring, right? The new level of guardianship that's coming forward for us is to walk in faith, in a deep faith for what our beliefs are, right? So whether it be, so once again, we're not talking about belief system, but we're talking about a universal expression, a God creation expression, whatever creative thing that you want to, whatever other form you want to believe in that's outside of you, whether it's source, God, universe, higher self, soul. What it's asking for is a deepened connection to our faith, right? Even if it is religion for you, very cool, right? I'm going to honor your pathway because it's whatever works for you in whatever form or representation works for you. So for me, my faith has to deepen more in the trusting of my soul, in the blueprints, in the pathways that are opened up, in the templating structure, in my DNA, in my energetics, but also in my guidance team. As a result, what's happening with deepening this faith is I'm asking for me to see more, right? And to know more of who I am as a part of the revelation, right? And in this passageway, as it keeps coming more and more through, we can ask for these things, right? Communicate with your higher self, with your universe, your God, and say, I'm ready to know more about who I am. I'm ready to stand in my faith and in my deep knowing, right? Because the guardianship role now is standing, you're unwavered, right? So let's look at a very deeply rooted tree, right? So yes, there is an elemental structure that comes into this. The winds blow, right? But it still stands firm in who it is, right? Think of the tree, allowing, very allowing. It's very much so, it's what I would call healthy masculine balanced with the feminine principality to just stand in this deep knowing of who you are. And when you walk in that truth, that is the activation of the sovereignty within us, right? So the biggest thing is, as you're working through this and you might be swaying through the revelation, keep declaring your sovereignty, right? There's a lot of really good sovereignty declarations that many people have written out. You can write out your own, right? Take command over your universe, right? And this is my healthy masculine coming out right now. Take command of your universe. There's a difference between command and control, right? So we don't go into the control and start telling everyone what to do, right? But it's a command of your sovereignty, your divine right to be here and now, to be free of manipulation, free of distortion, right? That's what we stand in. We stand in that deep knowing. We bask in the holy fire, right? And we feel the warmth of that fire enveloping us. And we're stand so firm in that we're almost untouchable, right? It's not a Superman egoic thing, right? It's just a deep knowing that you're supported and loved on the universe, and you're guided and you're taken care of. I don't want to go into the you're protected thing, because when we protect, there's a whole slew of energetics that comes with that coding of protection, but it's just a deep reverence for your creator and your creation, and a deep reverence for yourself as well. So building that up, the feminine energetics is really allowing the masculine to feel safe and supported in building that faith in its container and building that spiritual house, right? So even myself, I'm very isolated right now, right? All of my inner tribe are nowhere near me. And yes, I still connect with my community around here at the park that I live at. But for me, I'm isolated for a reason, because it's important for me to build up that really deep connection with my soul, with my higher self, with my universe, with my God, with whatever I choose to see as my level of faith or trust, and to build that really deep reserve for myself. So when I go walk my path and I connect with my tribe, I can really stand in that guardianship role and don't sway or maneuver based upon what I see in the collective or things of that nature. It's really a healthy role of being able to honor the divine child and to allow the inner child to feel safe to express what it needs to express, right? So it's a complete reparenting that occurs internally, right? And that's a lot of the men that are waking up right now in the male form that are really coming into their next level of pathway are many of them are very isolated right now. And if you're going through this right now, I want to send you a really deep wave of love and respect to my brothers out there that are going through this, because there's not many of us right now, but more are coming online. And even before I did this live stream, I felt the brothers kind of rejoicing and like standing, bowing to one another, and it was really impactful and really emotional. And so I just want to thank the brothers that are doing this right now, because we've been few and far in between, and we're not trying to create separation between the feminine and the man. The female embodiers have been doing a great role in supporting us, and I want to thank you too. But really, we're going to see more men waking up, and we have a lot of distortion to still encounter in the masculine archetype, and it's been really difficult navigating for a while. And many of us couldn't even come face to face with a lot of men because it was just like HE double hockey sticks breaking loose and projections and shadow stuff, which I had to clear out on my own, but it was always met with a battle. And so it's been very lonely. And I can, so if you're going through this, if you're an isolated male form and you're awakening on this process, I want to say I honor you and I feel you. And all of the brothers in that masculine energy is really supporting us. The knights are supporting us. The white knights are supporting us. And it's really beautiful to be surrounded by that brotherhood that's uplifting us, along with the sisterhood that's really supporting all of us on our journey in the unification. So that was a lot to unpack regarding the masculine energetics. But really, guys, when we look at the combat thing, right, a lot of that sending a lynch mob out is things that we dealt with Salem, with the witch trials, that really kept and suppressed a lot of our magic and didn't allow a lot of our magic to come online. And there was a lot of shamans and a lot of really beautiful elemental presence that had to hide and be suppressed and be fringe dwellers and stay on the fray. And it's really asking for us to step into the light, right? And a part of that lynch mob frequency of going out and getting these people that did this is that we're not here to start burning effigies and starting to curse them out, right? We're starting to witness that there's a master and a God within them, and there's a light within them that's being revealed. And whether they choose to walk out and to walk off, or however they choose their pathway, is really entirely up to them, right? But us as conscious creators can focus on more of a unified essence of loving them unconditionally. It doesn't mean we have to like what they did, right? It doesn't mean we have to agree or discount what has occurred over the main stage pathway for thousands of years. But a lot of that correction point, so we don't keep calling forward that experience over and over and over, is to drop our swords and to just see it and to focus on our new earth build outs. And that's what my call has been very much so recently. Very much so recently. So I'm just going to go through and read the comments really quick. So many people in here. Hello, everyone. Hello, 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 hello. And Marissa, thank you for showing up, because I wanted to talk about the spine. A few of us are going into the spine, and I forgot to talk about the spine. Okay. So the next level of this was, we're going to talk about the spinal column. If you've been going through extreme spine pain, spinal distortions, or you've been laid out or you're finding you're having to rest a lot and support the spine, I wanted to discuss what's been coming through. So when the new templates arrived, which I heard today and saw that they were called diamond templates, and I haven't, it's one of those things I really have to dive into before I start. I'm not going to just talk out my butt knowing what these things are, but I'd heard diamond templates. And as I know, there's a whole holy chakra system that came online as a result of the energetics through April. And that's one thing I did here is that we're now embodying a new level of our column, a purified energetics of our column that's assisting in this, what we would call the holy chakra system, which is just a new level of way of clear. So we cleared out a lot of distortions through our chakras. So a lot of us are building the unified chakra system where we're just a unified column of light. I've actually only met one person, a client recently, who had no chakra system. And that was absolutely insane to navigate energy work with someone that had no chakra system. So many of us are working on building the crystalline pillar, right? Working consciously every single day to keep our chakras merged and aligned into a column. So we're not feeling the separation of the old chakra system. But I heard that the holy chakra system is a new 12D template for our chakras that are merged, but we're working with purified energetics. So if you've been dealing with a lot of Kundalini energy, that Kundalini energy coming up and forward and through is dissolving the layers of the old chakra system so we can fully ground in this new 12D chakra system that showed up. So once again, more to be revealed for that, but it really does have to do with so much with our spinal column. And today I heard that it was revolving around the autonomic nervous system. Okay, so our autonomic nervous system is what controls our bodily functions and our organs unconsciously, right? So as a result, if we think of unconscious and our biofeedback rhythms and the way that our bodies operate, when we're going from a carbon-based system into a silica-based system, or what we would call the crystalline body or the divine human body, there's a whole upgrade that needs to occur based on the templating and based on the energetics to override and overwrite our old carbon-based body. So as a result, right, sovereign body, okay, so this is coming through, sovereign body, is that the unconscious mechanisms and the workings of the body have been able to be, for a very long time, okay, have been able to be manipulated, hijacked, and destroyed. So as we're escaping, now I don't want to say escaping, I don't like that word, as we are walking out of destruction-based creation, and we're focusing more on a unified basis of creation, so goes our body with the upgrade process. It's a result of the new light bodies that have been showing up as well. So I've been hearing that there's new light bodies coming up, and there's a lot of ways that I see the spinal column and the representation of that. The focus on the energetics for me has been really focused around the number 33, which is mastery. Okay, we have 33 vertebrae in the spine, and there's actually a coding sequence with each vertebrae that represents another level of mastery that we hold as keys to unlock in our pathway to ascension. So, or our pathway to mastery. Our spinal column is also a big traveling point for ascension and descension of the soul, the higher self, but it's also a big download point for energetics. And I'm finding now that a part of the new earth support system that we're building, as well as the body upgrades, is all revolved around the spine. So there's another level of it showing up in my own reality, and it regards to whale work. So I did some work with my sister Julie a few weeks ago where we were working with the whales on the Atlantic coast. When the work was done, I saw a whale enter my sacral and start a seeding process. So as a result, there was a new plasma light body that was being birthed, a new level 2 of the mother and child that was coming through. So when I saw this whale come through, I saw it with a baby calf, and I recognized that I was beginning to embody a whale frequency or a whale tone within myself and getting kind of a whale body. So she just unpacked this and put a post out on Facebook. I don't know if she put it on her website, but I'm going to talk to her about that, and I'll post it in my community page about the whale energy. But there's this whole thing with like the dorsal fin that's arriving. But I wanted to, I don't know enough about it, so I don't want to speak on something I don't know, right? Or I haven't witnessed myself, but it's something I wanted to share about. There's a lot of us that have been working with whales recently and have been feeling more of the call of like the dolphin and the whales. And it really is a lot of that a Lemurian frequency or ascended Atlantis frequency, depending upon what we're working with coming forward and through. But it's really assisting us with tribe communications, knowing more about how we connect with peace with our tribe, greater understanding for the soul groups, and a lot of our mission pathway work, build outs that's occurring. But it's also the whales came forward and through for myself, at least. So beyond speaking on collective trajectories and what's occurring in the higher narrative, personally, the whales showed up a lot with helping me to nurture my inner child through the mother whale frequency as it's been arriving. And it just seems really, really important. Even now I'm seeing the whales show up. And if they want to come forward and through, I would like to bring through the whale energy, because it's really such a beautiful energy to bathe in and to work with. And even right now, I'm hearing the dolphins, and I'm hearing that it's really important for us, first off, with the communication networks, right? Connecting more to our organic light body technology is working more with our telepathy, but also how we are communicating out in the quantum field when we are feeling isolated and alone. So the dolphin and the whale energy is really assisting us in knowing that our family is, no matter I'm hearing what is it, Backstreet Boys, it says, no matter the distance, it's the you are my fire. So I know that has to deal with union stuff, which is just silly, but it's really, no matter the distance, time, or space, that we're always connected to our tribe and we're always connected to our loved ones, right? The separation that we dealt with through 2020, right, being separated from our loved ones or separated from our tribe, or preparing for that, right? So many of us are in the process of preparing to meet up with more of our tribe and to build out, right? It's to know that they are supporting you and loving you, and the tribe extends beyond just the human family. It's the divine family. It's nature, it's the animals, it's all those crystalline collectives that are supporting us and connecting to that. But it's also really much so working with our I'm hearing sonar abilities, right? So the frequency of sound, and how that's affecting our reality, but how we can use and embody the frequency of sounds and tones to assist in activating our DNA, but also healing the planet and healing the world. Okay, which is really cool. So that's why they wanted to come through with that message. And I know that's a little bit for me, because I do work with music and I work with sound a lot. But just helping us to remind us that the support networks, right, that are building up right now extend beyond just the human family and the soul tribe. It extends into the animal realms. It extends more into the nature realms, the crystalline Gaian realms, but it's also allowing us to access more of that animalistic and primal aspect of ourselves, because it's important in the integration process and the allowance as we're coming into the divine human, is giving ourselves ample opportunity for the primal to arrive. Okay, so back to the spinal column. There's a lot that's unfolding with the spinal column. There's people that have been talking about a crystalline spine being built. Essentially, as it was told to me by my guides, was that we're getting a new electrical impulse responses to our autonomic nervous system, so we can begin functioning in the organic trajectories, right? So when we're going from an inorganic trajectory to an organic pathway, what we see is that a part of that operation is that, especially as we're more Gaian focused, right, and we're becoming more, and I'm hearing this now, I wonder if Marissa's still in here, because I kind of hear it from her, is and I'm hearing it from Julie too, is that there's this, the what our body goes through, right, with photosynthesis. When we become more Gaian focused and more tree based and more plant based, there's a level of photosynthesis that occurs in our body. And it also has to do with our breathing apparatuses, with being able to breathe in crystalline and plasma air. So as we are ascending, right, and we are changing at a subatomic level, so does the nature of the air that we breathe. As we elevate in vibration, right, the air that we breathe, which is crystalline and plasma, takes on a new form. The energetics of it requires us to have a whole new breathing apparatus as a result. Okay, and I know it sounds completely woo-woo, but if you've ever been to a sacred site, okay, that is even a little bit in higher elevation, or you've been to a sacred site and you've noticed that as you're hiking around the sacred site, it's harder to breathe. Well, that's a result of the plasma and the crystalline air, or the gamma air, that you're breathing in, that really takes an effect on the body. So energetically speaking, right, what it does is we have to go through this process of restructuring. And that's why our autonomic nervous system is getting restructured. But that's also why the whale energy has been coming through, because there's a whole thing with the breathing apparatus that's occurring for us. And for me, I'm noticing that I'm actually having to slow down on smoking and vaping a whole lot, because it really is, my lungs just can't handle it for the air that I'm breathing in and for the volume of ascension that's occurring, right? So if you're going through a lot of spine stuff, another thing that's been coming through has been that to be mindful of looping. So it is our I think it's our cervical. So our cervical is like, I think right here in our spinal column. Then up here near the cranium, right, is a very big energetic pathway where we're sending electrical impulses through the body. Well, the other thing too is that with energy, right? So if we're in the process of clearing out a lot of mental distortions, right? Ego, pain, body, but we're also going through a neural restructuring of the mind. What happens is that we find that if you don't have fluidity in the spine, in posture, or you have any energy that's stuck back here, connecting the cranium to your spine, the energy can get stuck and it can loop back up into the mind that can keep us in these thought loops. So this is when now, and I want to thank Miss Marissa, if she's still in here, for her Light Body Prana Yoga, is for those of us to start working with our spinal column, especially if we have horrible posture. For me, I have terrible posture. My shoulders have always been rolled forward. I always have like this atlas on my back. Like if you think of Atlas holding the world on his shoulders, I've always had this kind of crunch. Well, now as a result, I'm now having to work on my posture more to keep energetic fluidity in the spine, because it's also assisting in the connection point to the divine, but it's also assisting in the new support networks that are being built. So I was downloaded by my guidance a breath work to work through clearing up the connections back here between the cranium and the cervical area to bring up fluidity. So I wanted to let you guys in on that really quickly. So you can do this now, or you can do this later, do this on your own, but it was something that was really fascinating for me. And it's also going to assist in working with our masculine and our feminine energies. So if you turn your cheek to try to get your chin as close to your left shoulder blade as possible, right? Without straining too much. Sit in this position, and you want to take 3 breaths in and 3 breaths out. And as I do this, I feel the energy going up my spine on the in-breath and down on the exhale. So what it's doing, it's helping to build up the column and getting more fluidity of the current up and down through the spine. Also, too, is when I do this, I noticed earlier, and it happened automatically, and it was something that was downloaded too, is when we're facing the feminine side, imagine breathing up blue through the spine. And what we're doing is we're breathing in the masculine connection as we're facing our feminine, right? So I always see masculine as blue and feminine as like a soft pink, and the divine child as gold. We can see that as the threefold flame. So what this is a breath working with the threefold flame energies to assist in balancing in the unity and the trinitized being. So chin to the left, breathe 3 in, 3 out, mastery 33. But we're going to be breathing in blue through the spine, connecting that to the feminine. When we're done, we're going to go over chin to the right side as far as you can go. Same, 3 breaths in, 3 breaths out through the heart, but we're going to be breathing in pink through the spine, soft pink, and that's going to help to meet the masculine energies with the support through the spine. Okay, so once again, we're facing feminine, breathing in masculine. We're facing masculine, breathing in feminine. And then when we're done with that, we're going to take our hands, put it at the back of our head, right where our cranium meets our spine. We want to push our shoulders back, because we're also working with the angel wings here, right? So there's been a whole lot of angel stuff, and it's working with that wing space. So we want to kind of crunch the back, but push the chest forward, heart out forward. And we want to push down as far as we can. So get a good spread, get the heart open. And we want to do 3 in, 3 out, gold through the spine. Okay. And that's working with the inner child. And it'll help to open up that connection point with the spine. But also too, is that I know that there's more beyond this. So this is just breath work to build, if you're looping at all in the mind, to do those breaths and to not stretch too much. So you don't want to strain yourself and get injured, especially if you've got any neck injury. So take it nice and slow. But we want to work on 3 in, 3 out, 3 in, 3 out, 3 in, 3 out, as we're honoring that Trinity. And we're going to open up that connection to begin processing all of that looping data to travel up and down the spine. I did this earlier and I found that there was downloads coming through that were stuck in the spine that needed to get worked out. So for me, I also crack my back, which I know is not the healthiest thing. I need to go to the chiropractor and get an adjustment. But if you're going through any spinal stuff and you're feeling called to do that, there's been a really heavy focus on the spine, on posture, on stretching more, because it will assist on getting any stuck energy out. But we also might have downloads that are stuck in our spine that we need to release. So when I did this breath work earlier, I got a big flash of insight and more came online. And so I'm working with that more to assist in that travel point so I can anchor more of my higher self here and now. And I can begin to process more of the uploads and the downloads that have been coming in that might be stuck in the spine and haven't been able to travel through. So that's been really important, is the spinal column and making sure that we're allowing the restructuring to occur. I know that there's some new light body stuff that started today. It didn't really affect me, so I'm not going to go into it today, go into it tonight. But yeah, there's been a lot going on. So I'm going to go read through the chat here. Yes, Vegas Nerve is coming alive. Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Yes. Eat ghee. Thank you, Jen, for that. All these messages are held for review. What are you guys talking about in here? Okay, I'm just going through reading the chat. So yeah, there's been a lot unfolding, a lot going on. But once again, when we stay in our heart, we stay in our peace, and we stay in our sovereign truth, we can really be and I don't want to say unaffected in from the form of bypassing, but we don't have to allow the revelation to get to us. Okay. We don't have to allow the revelation to get to us. And there's another download that came through, and I want to let people know about this. If you know on your pathway that you are supposed to be owning land and as a part of your divine inheritance, okay? So there are many of us on this pathway that know that at some point in time we're going to own land, if you don't already own land, right? So if you're looking at owning sovereign land, in creating a community, creating a farm, so on and so forth. The download that came through earlier for myself was just to allow the alignments to occur, and it's not going to take a whole lot for us to be able to acquire that in the guardianship roles and in the build outs, right? So it's one of those things where I know this download has come through for many, and there are people that have been chosen by Gaia, that have been chosen by the universe to create communities and to own land for organic farming, for different multidimensional creations, healing retreats. There's also been a big focus on plant medicine retreats as a result of this too. So if you are waiting and you're wondering what's going on, there's a lot that needs to align, right? And the thing is too, is that we really have to let go of ownership of Gaia. Okay, so I want to bring this forward and through right now. We don't own Gaia. Okay, the power is in Gaia's hands, and as a result, Gaia has some things that she needs to do to begin to free up that land and free up that space for us to arrive in. And so it's really about honoring and trusting the energetics, trusting the divine alignments, and knowing that Gaia's got our back. There's been a lot of revelation occurring too, right? With how we've been toxifying the environment with things like fracking, and what it is doing to Gaia. Gaia wants to remind us that she's got us and she's taking care of it. And the people that are going to be reporting on that and doing things about that will know, because it's a part of their service role. It's a part of their pathway to bring that forward and through, or to do something in assisting in the cleanup or in creating more of the sustainable living, as we're getting more of the downloads and the sustainable environmental structures put into place, right? And this is free of the whole politics stuff. I don't want to get into that because I just kind of heard it come up. This has nothing to do with politics, at least here in the United States. For me, this is Gaian focused and Gaian supported, and Gaia is delivering those downloads to the right people. And if you are waiting on things like that you've seen in your pathway and trajectory, there's alignments that are occurring and a process of deprogramming that needs to happen. But also too, yeah, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it there. So I wanted to let people know about that, because there's been a big focus on a lot of people getting farmland, on building out communities, on building retreat centers. I know that me and my tribe all have our own individual downloads for whatever that means for us, even if it's all in one creations. And I just got my download today to let me know that just focus on aligning and continue to build. And Gaia has been talking a lot right now, really connecting a lot with me. And Gaia wants to support the masculine energetics. Okay, this is coming forward very clearly. Earlier today, I went on a synchronicity walk, a magic walk. And I want to remind anyone that while you're working through this masculine stuff, it's really important, you know, so especially those of us that have a lot of mother things that have happened in our lives, mother programming, mother wounding, mother trauma, whatever it might be. And we're not speaking of male form here. We're speaking of the masculine energetics. Gaia wants the masculine energy to come forward more and connecting more with Gaia. As a result, that is a really beautiful divine mother support that's assisting in the trinitization process and allowing the purified, healthy masculine to come forward and through. And it's also allowing that surrender for the divine child to come through more as well. Okay. So every single day, if you can, I have a little dialogue written up in the blog post I just posted regarding seeding, regarding magic walks and synchronicity walks. You can connect to Gaia, connect to the crystalline elemental structures, and allow them to guide you in a synchronicity walk as you're unplugging from the inorganic realities, right? So when we're stepping forward more into the organic realities, and I've talked about this and I mentioned it earlier, is really more Gaian focused. It's Rainbow Bridge DNA. It's more of the natural elemental structure, okay? If you are in bed a lot or you're having a tough time staying in your joy and staying in your presence, I invite you to go to that blog post and look at the really quick dialogue on how to do a synchronicity walk and a magic walk, and I promise you it will occur. It happened to me earlier, and it was really beautiful. I haven't done a synchronicity walk in a while, and it was literally a 10-minute walk. I walked maybe a quarter of a mile. Like, it was not a long walk at all. It was healthy enough on the body to get my muscles cleared and to get the energy moving out of my bones and out of my system and to get connected again. And there was a lot of insight that came through from the tree network regarding my own pathway, and a lot of downloads came through regarding what it means to be a masculine guardian of Earth, and not just male form, right? The masculine energetics of guarding, of being a guardian of New Earth and a guardian of Gaia. And just something I wanted to share with people because it's been important while we're going through the process of restructuring and we're in our bed to move out the energy so it doesn't get stuck and stagnant. And it can really, because it can really start to build up and affect us, especially if we're having to be kind of immobile for a little while. So catching up with the chat again. Ooh, I like that about the medicine ball. Thank you, Emma, for talking about that. Well, that's Jenny. Hi, Jenny. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And Jenny, yes, it will be gifted back to us. Yes, it's a part of the sovereign land stuff that we've been going through. Okay, awesome. Well, guys, I'm done here for now. We very, very long update. I thank you all so much for coming out. And if you didn't tune in earlier, I'm going to mention it again now. My PayPal is currently frozen, right? So thank you for everything going on with the restructuring in New Earth Abundance. As a result, I have no access to money right now, and I'm living by divine faith. But my team and Gaia asked me today, said, reach out to your audience and just ask for donations through Cash App or Venmo. So the links for Cash App and Venmo are in the description box. If you want to, you can. Please, it would help a lot. Because all my business expenses came through today, and I can't pay my business expenses because all my money is caught up in PayPal. And I understand it's a part of what's going on. But as a part of the newer support, I was asked to just ask if that was possible to assist, and to thank you all for that. There's more coming online too. There's some new courses that are going to be coming out, new activations on another platform. When that's up, I will put it out on my community page and let people know. For now, it's just a process of going through this restructuring and integration. I'm also about to make a move, right? So I'm going to be moving and traveling soon again. So as a result, I might not be showing up online as much. So I'm trying to just get out as much as I can now and get these things forward and through. But I want to thank everyone for staying in your peace, for staying in your beauty, for staying in your sovereignty, for continually sharing and supporting not only my work, but sharing the light with other people, right? So just keep doing what you're doing. I'm going to keep coming back. I'm going to keep sharing as things restructure and realign in my own life as well. And so, yeah, thank you guys so much. I love you all. I'm going to leave it there and disconnect my energy. Let's keep playing, right? Let's keep playing. Let's keep enjoying. Let's keep restructuring. And let's keep our eyes focused as conscious creators of the new pathways that are opening up, right? So even if we don't know exactly what they are, let's dance and celebrate them now, because the arrival of them will be anchored quicker for ourselves, because it really is about that celebratory play that's gonna come forward in activating those pathways for ourselves as we're unplugging more from the inorganic pathways, and we're saying goodbye to all those old structures that kept us limited, small, and stuck for so long, right? So here's the peace, here's the sovereignty, here's the unification, and here's to an organic new earth trajectory that is going to create nothing but so much beautiful magic and bliss within our lives that we have no opportunity to do anything but to share it with everyone, because it feels too good, right? It feels too good. The only thing we can do is just share it with the world and keep building and keep creating and keep all the beautiful things that we're doing, right? I love you guys. Much love and respect to everyone out there. And with that,